Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to make this video because I've tried to film this video so many times over the last month and today, but also over the last month. And each time it's just been so hard to make this video. So I hope this take works and that I can actually upload this one. So, we're going to be talking today about my 2021. This was probably one of the hardest years of my life without being overly dramatic or exaggerating. I really feel like it was. And I also feel like I can't make other videos around my normal content, which is Amazon and entrepreneurship and product development, without making this video. And I'll explain why. I feel, and you can tell I'm getting straight into it. No intro here today, guys. If you're watching this video, you already know me because I'm not using any keywords or hashtags or anything for this. So if you don't know me and this is the first time you're meeting me, hi, my name is Sharon Evan. And I encourage you to watch other videos of mine first before watching this pretty dramatic one. Otherwise, enjoy. So the reason I felt that this video was very important to make was I feel that the way the world is going today, it is very, very dangerous with how unrealistic what we see in our feeds and on YouTube, on Instagram, etc., Facebook, how unrealistic life looks today on a social media level. And I don't want to be one of those people that wear a smile when they don't feel like it, or that create content around stuff when they don't want to at that point in time. I want to be authentic, and I want to be me, and I want to be real. And this was one tough freaking year. And I feel like it's important that you know that. So that's what we're going to talk about this video. At the end of the video, I'm going to tell you what you can expect from my YouTube channel for 2022 and from me in general. So let's start. In 2015, I lost my brother, who got very, very, very sick and died in a hospital room, hugged by my sister and my mum and I, and our family members were in the room. And that was let's just say in general, one of the toughest things I've ever gone through, but also watching my brother get sicker and sicker, and he spent a whole year in hospital. My mom slept in the hospital with him for an entire year, and he was in and out of hospital his entire life, but the last year of his life was a tough one. And so that was probably the toughest thing I've ever gone through. But in that year, I also had a late miscarriage, and I also, the toll and the weight of everything that I was going through did not allow me to be able to, I had a business at the time. I had an online store, and it didn't allow me to be able to work on my business properly. I'm talking slowly because I'm trying not to cry. But I keep trying to make this video and I keep having to stop myself from crying. So I'm just going to try and talk slowly so that I can get through it and actually make this damn video. I wasn't able to function correctly, and ultimately that resulted in me having to give up on my business, which at the time looked like a huge failure. But the year after that is the year I discovered Amazon, and I had to go through that in order to get to the next best thing. And also in 2016, I then eventually got pregnant again, and in 2017 gave birth to my son. So although nothing will be able to bring my brother back into this world, those experiences gave me the strength to be able to deal with this year, 2021. And I think that 2021 experiences that I went through will then give me the strength to get through other stuff, along with other things I've gone through in life. I left home at a very young age. I left home when I was 15, and I lived in a country on my own with no family. So I've been through a lot of stuff in my life that you guys also don't know about because I don't, make it all public and stuff. I've had lots of ups and downs. I've had a lot of failures and a lot of successes, but a lot of the time people are only showing those successes and they're not showing the failures, or they're not talking about the difficult times. And then it looks like they became like this overnight success, when in reality, I've been out there hustling and like kicking ass and sleepless nights and done crazy shit in order to get to where I am today. So I think it's important to show the bigger picture. Anyway, I had to tell you what I went through in 2015 to be able to get to 2021. So 2020 was a shock for everyone, but 2021 was one of my toughest years, because I started this YouTube channel in 2019. Before that, I was just, someone who was successful in e-commerce, and it's just me and my husband working together from home, and I was just a normal human being, like most of you watching, just normal human. But I'd always wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I'd always wanted to empower people, and I'd always wanted to show this other thing that you can do with your life. And I always knew that I'd end up doing something like this. I just didn't know what 2020 and 2021 were going to bring with them. So 2015, I had to stop for a second and refocus, because I was getting a little bit all over the place. So 2015, I believe, gave me the strength. I had to go through that to then be able to make it through this year. And I know for a lot of you, this is going to sound dramatic. And the reason I also didn't make this video is because I didn't want... There are so many people struggling right now in this world. And I didn't want someone who's got it way worse than me to see someone like me and be like, I can't believe you're complaining about that. And on the other hand, we all have our different levels of hardship. Something that's hard for you may be super easy for me, and something that's hard for me may be super easy for you. So this is, when I say it was a tough year, it was a tough year for me. So I'm going to try and keep it to explain what I went through to like a maximum of 10 minutes, because every time I've tried to make this, it's been like an hour long just talking about this side of things. So the year started off for me where I had a huge fallout with someone from the industry who started as a client of mine in early 2020 and became someone I had actually considered a friend, and we got very close, and I believe that I really, really helped her and opened many doors for her. And we had a very big fallout in late December 2020. And in January, there was just a lot of drama around that. And I'm not someone that usually has drama in their life. So I took that really hard. Not only that, I didn't really understand how this person that's very tough, was able to be manipulated, because I really, really was manipulated. And I'm not going to try and make myself a victim. I'm not. But I learned a lesson from that. And the biggest lesson I learned was boundaries, putting up boundaries. And that's something that's just changed my life, honestly, because I'm so much happier now that I know how to put up boundaries. Today, I'm really, really good at it. And I had to go through that experience in order to get there. Not so long after that, I started my fertility treatment. I'm a mom. I have a 4.5-year-old child, and to get pregnant, I have to go through fertility treatments. And we started out, my husband and I, our fertility treatment journey again, second round. First round was with my son, second round now. And a lot of ups and downs in that. I'll get to the end and I'll say we're at the end of 2021 and I'm not pregnant. That includes endless amount of months of hormones, injections into my stomach. The injections are also hormones. The treatment itself, before the treatment, having all sorts of different ultrasounds, having to then go through after the treatment and have a negative pregnancy test. It's a very, very emotional thing to go through as a woman, as a couple. Also, tough for the man. I'm not saying it's not, but when it's your body, it's tough. So I went through that the entire year. Ups and downs, different things. It was 1 month where they missed my ovulation, which God knows how that happens, and then it sets you back. And there were other months where different things were going on and we couldn't do the treatment and all sorts of different things, and then many, many failed treatments. And that in itself is very difficult to go through as a human, but especially as a woman, and especially with all the other stuff that I was dealing with as well. And I'm not even talking about, the amount of bullshit that went on in business this year as well. And that's the difficulty with being an entrepreneur, because you are still, you're still operating your own business, but life doesn't stop. Life continues, and life isn't always happy fairy tales and unicorns and happiness all day long. Life sometimes a real bitch, and sometimes you have to go through some crazy shit that you don't even understand why you need to go through it. And you still need to show up for your business at the same time. And that's why I'm making this video, because I am so proud of myself for getting through this year, because it was a tough one. Anyway, I'm not going to belittle what I went through and try and move on, but I hope that sometime next year I'll be able to make a video and show you all a baby bump, and I know that will come. I have to say, if anyone's watching this and's gone through it as well, it's easier on one hand because I already am a mom. I already have an amazing child, and it's harder because it's taking so much longer this time than what it did with my son. And also, as someone who's gone through multiple miscarriages in the past, there's also always the fear of when you do get pregnant, eventually, of also not telling people and not getting your hopes up, because that stuff also happens as well. So that in itself, as a woman, is something that was very difficult for me this year. I also put on, quite a lot of weight this year. And I'm not going to blame it only on hormones, because it's not. It was also bad habits that I picked up this year from also feeling sorry for myself. And I think it's important to say that, because I used to be very skinny before, not like overly skinny, just healthy before I was pregnant and before I had my son. And then after I had my son, I lost all the baby weight, and I was really happy until 2021 came along and I put on a lot of weight. And it was, that in itself was another thing to deal with, because, I don't know what I'm trying to say from that, but I think it's important to also talk about that. Well, everyone's talking about self-development and things like that, and it's important, right? It's important to talk about that, and it's important to motivate people and show your journey, but it's also important to come and say, not everyone's going through that right now, and I'm not. I'm not going through that happy, joy stage right now. I'm happy in my marriage. I'm happy in my motherhood with my son, but and I'm also happy with my product-based business. Okay, I wish I was in a different place in my other businesses, but on a personal level, am not the happiest with certain things that have gone on. And although I'm in a much better place today, it was a difficult year. And I think it's important to talk about that kind of stuff as well. So that was that. To the part that's most difficult for me to talk about, and before I do, I want to say, I purposely don't talk about this stuff because I don't want to get ever political, and I'm not either a political person. But if there are any negative comments about what I'm about to tell you, and anyone feels the need to be an online bully in any way, I'm going to block and delete you. So don't even bother. Just move on. Don't watch my stuff anymore, or just go away. Like, not interested in getting into a conversation about it. So now that we've done through that, I was born and raised in New Zealand to Israeli Jewish parents who moved to New Zealand because they wanted to create a different life for their children. And when I was 21, I came here for my sister's bat mitzvah, and I decided to move here. I decided to leave my life in New Zealand and to move to this crazy country. And during that last 11 years, 12 years almost, that I've been living here, I've been through different types of conflicts and wars that this country has gone through. But I've never gone through it as a mum. Not like this year. Damn it, I was really hoping I wasn't going to get teary this time. I keep looking to the side because the camera's up there, and here I'm looking at myself, and sometimes it's hard to continuously look at yourself, and that's why I keep looking to the side sometimes. Anyway, this is hard stuff that I'm talking about. There was obviously the conflict that the entire world already knows about. I don't need to get into that, nor does it matter. What matters to me is I slept in a bomb shelter with my 4-year-old son for 10 days. And there's something different about going through that experience when you're not a parent, and something different about going through that when you are a parent to a young child. And that was a very difficult thing for me to go through, which unfortunately I will probably go through again sometime in my life. But it was the first time that I went through it to that degree this year. And, you know, the rockets flying above your house, and sirens and all sorts of different things that I'm not going to try and don't want to depress any of you. And I also know that it's so unrelatable to like 99% of you that I don't want to get too much into that. But it was hard, and I went through it. And I can't pretend as if I didn't, because it changed something in me. I'm going to stop and come back. The reason that I'm opening up and being vulnerable is because this is dramatic and something that I went through that most of you have no idea what it's like to go through. But you maybe were going through or have gone through your own shit, your own difficulties. And I want you to be able to see how this thing happened to me. And although it's had an impact on something in my life, how I am able to get through it. And if I can, so can you. And that is why I'm making this video. So, it was a hard thing. It was a hard thing to go through. We'll try and leave it at that. What I will say is it was also a hard thing to go through, because suddenly you have your 4-year-old child asking you very difficult questions about the situation. And I didn't grow up in this country, so I didn't grow up going through these things, nor did I ever be exposed to this with my parents. I didn't have to ask my parents these things because I grew up in peaceful New Zealand. And suddenly I was going through an experience that not only did I never go through as a child, but I now as a mother found myself having very difficult conversations with my son that I never even thought that I'd have to go through. So that was tough. And then after, things got quiet, moving my son back to his bed was also hard, because suddenly he was scared to sleep in his bed on his own. And that was me having now to deal with my son's post-trauma. And in the meantime, I still have my Amazon businesses running. I still am going through the same supply chain issues that all of you are going through. I'm still dealing with the amount of cash flow you now need to buy the inventory, because, you needed to buy so much more inventory all of a sudden, and still going through day-to-day life that you go through, and still showing up to seller sessions every single week, still coaching, still being there, like still running a household and a business while dealing with all this other stuff, and still going through the fertility treatment stuff and other things. And the reason that I'm saying that is because there's no excuses. There really isn't. Life is hard, and it can be shitty at times. But when you made a decision to be an entrepreneur and to have your own business, it comes with the good and the bad. So you don't have, when you work for someone else, which I have in the past in certain stages of my life, but I have been more self-employed than what I have worked for other people. You don't have the headaches that the boss has and the owners have, right? You have a small headache. You have a different type of headache, but you have a headache that when you leave your job, most of the time, not all, but most of the time, you then have your drive home, and then you get into home and you put your job behind you. And when you're an entrepreneur, your mind doesn't stop. Being the business operator doesn't stop. Something happens in the middle of the night to your business, you get up and you deal with it. You have to continue to be there and operate your businesses, even if you have people working for you, even when life is hard. And the reason I'm sharing this is because so many people, life gets a little bit tough, business gets a little bit tough, and they pussy out, they run away. And that's not how business is. And if you do that continuously, if life gets a little hard, business gets a little hard, and you continue to run away, like, you're not going to make it. You may make it in one area of your life. So let's just say, if you keep running away on a business level, you'll never make it in business, but maybe you'll be okay in your personal life. I don't know. And if you're doing really well in your business life, but you keep running away from your personal life problems, like, that's never going to be successful in life. You have to know, you have to build up this, like, immunity to life and to business. And that's why I said that what I went through in 2015 gave me the strength to make it through 2021, because not all people would have been able to get through what I went through this year and come out of it the way I'm coming out of it this year. So, went through many more things, but I'm going to keep it here. I think that's enough depressing stuff and enough sad things and hardship. But those were like the highlights of the difficulties. Of course, there were other things. And of course, there were beautiful things. We also took, 3 different holidays as a family, and it was so amazing, and it was so much fun. And financially, we had one of our best years yet. But it also shows you how even when you're in a really good financial place, it doesn't mean that life is perfect, and it doesn't mean that you're happy. There were many moments in this year that I wasn't happy, but my bank account was in a really good place. But so what? If all you're trying to do is like get rich and you're like this miserable old fuck, don't think that having money in the bank is going to make you happy. You got to work on yourself and work on dealing with shit in order to find that happiness. Money does not buy you happiness. It gives you the ability to make choices. It gives you the ability to have mental freedom at certain stages. It gives you the ability to buy things, and it gives you the ability to do certain things. But it doesn't buy the smile on your face or make you happy. So just know that. Apart from all that, this year, I also had to make some decisions to protect myself. So I decided that there was a lot of noise in this industry, and it was making me unfocused, and it was unhealthy for me, the amount of noise in the industry. It can, when you see people doing things, suddenly seeing this person like going, all these people speaking at like this event and making these courses and doing all these different things and like flying around the world and blah, blah, blah. It's sometimes you can feel like FOMO, right? And at some point I had to stop and I had to say to myself, like, you're 33 years old. You have a 4.5-year-old son who is the most important thing in your life more than anything else, including business. And you're not at a place where a lot of these people are, and you need to stop comparing yourself to these people. I was seeing, people that I know are in a different stage of their life. They've either got no kids or got much older kids, and they were able to do all these different things that I can't allow myself to do today, nor do I want to step away from my family, nor can I, for such a long time. So there was all this noise in this industry, and also a lot of things coming out of people's mouths that on a principle level I just disagree with so much, and also on an experience level going through product development from a very, very young age. A lot of the stuff I found myself not aligned with a lot of people in this industry. And the thing is that on the Sharon Evan Facebook and the Sharon Evan Instagram, all I follow and all the people that are my friends are people, not necessarily real friends, I mean Facebook friends, are people from the industry. And I found myself going through the feed and just seeing bullshit, what I considered to be noise and like not realistic stuff. So I muted a lot of people. I didn't unfollow. I just quietly muted a lot of people, unsubscribed from a lot of channels, unfriended many people, or unfollowed many people on Facebook. And it just made things so much easier for me to stay focused. I found myself so much happier in certain scenarios because I wasn't being fed bullshit or seeing just happy, happy, joy, joy all day when it's not real life. Now, some people may hear me and be like, oh, you just sound like you're miserable. I'm not miserable. I've had certain times this year that were tough, but I can't handle anymore the amount of fakeness on social media because it's just making people depressed. The amount of coaching calls I've had in the past year where the word depressed came out of someone's mouth is scary. It's just scary. And I blame social media for that. And that's why it's so important for me to make authentic videos that are not only about happiness and about content like tutorials and how to do things, but also to keep it real. When I go through shit in my business, when I had a terrible experience on Prime Day in 2020, I made a video about it. You can go watch it later. It's called The Ugly Side of Amazon. And I showed what I went through, right? And when you're going through tough situations in life, I think it's important to also talk about that and share that because it brings reality into the world. You become relatable. People can see you and be like, oh, I know what you're talking about. I'm going through that. But when all people are being shown all day long is happy, happy, joy, joy. When I was going through this terrible, terrible time, when the conflict was going on, all I saw was Prosper Show and people in all these different summits and smiling and bars and stuff. And that's all I was seeing for a good amount of time. And I was like, my world is crumbling and all I'm seeing is like all these happy people in bars and summits and stuff that I couldn't care less about right now because I'm just trying to survive right now. And that's when I realized how dangerous social media is. And you may have realized on my Instagram, I took a huge step back. And also this YouTube channel, I had to prioritize what was important to me or what was most important to me this year. And I don't know whether I made a mistake or not, but it is what it is. And I wasn't in a place where I felt that making YouTube videos was the most important thing for me in 2021. Also because where I was mentally. You have to have like good energy to be able to come on here and make a video and to make a tutorial and to do these different things. And it's not always easy when you're going through something. And the difference between the YouTube stuff and the seller session stuff, is live most of the time, and I don't really need to prepare too much for it because it just happens. And for YouTube, I need to really prepare a video, although nothing here is prepared. I'm just talking from my head. But next year, so let's get to the chase. Next year, I will be bringing out 2 videos a week on my YouTube channel. One will be a content one, and one will be whatever is going on in the business world that week, or in my life that week, or in the entrepreneurial journey of mine that week. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But the reason that I want to make 2 videos a week, and the reason I'm saying this out loud, is also to keep myself accountable. Of course, maybe stuff could happen and maybe I'll trip over once or twice, but I hope, and my goal is to put out 2 videos each week. And I really hope that I start to also be exposed to more people and my type of people as well, obviously, and that more people can, get to watch my content as well. My next video, or the video after, I don't know, sometime the next week, I will also be putting out a goal setting video for 2022. And I did this last year, and obviously I didn't know in 2020, I didn't know what 2021 had in store for me. And I look back at my 2020 goals for 2021, and I achieved half of them and even excelled in half of them. And I didn't achieve half of them as well. And I could have allowed that to get to me and to depress me and whatever. And I didn't. I looked at it and I said, okay, it sucks. But I also am forgiving and understanding to myself, because I also didn't expect to go through all these different things that I went through this year. And I just hope I'm able to do those things next year in 2022. All right, let's wrap it up here, because I feel like I'm just going on, and I've made this video so many times, and I feel like this one is the one that I will upload. So it was a tough year, but I made it through it. And if I can make it through it, so can you. And every single hardship that you go through, whether it be business or whether it be personal, whatever it is in your life, it gives you then tools to deal with it the next time it will happen, because it may happen again, and it may happen worse next time, and it may be easier next time. You don't know. But every experience you go through, every failure, every success, every experience you go through in your life will give you the tools. It's like another tool to your toolbox to handle next time something like that happens. And that's why I started the video with talking about 2015, because I believe that had I not gone through everything I went through in 2015, I would be a very different Sharon making this video today, probably a lot weaker than what I am right now. I feel like a freaking monster. I feel like I say this to life, you just throw anything at me, I'm gonna troop through it, get through it, no matter what. And that's how I legitimately feel. I feel so empowered, and I feel so strong, and I'm so proud of myself for being able to make this video and get to a place where I authentically feel what I'm telling you, because I could have been very different. I could have given up on many things. So I hope that you take that to whatever it is that you're going through. There is always light at the end of the tunnel, and life is it's like a mountain, Sometimes it's uphill, sometimes it's downhill. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. And other way around, harder, easier. And it's continuous, right? And that's business as well. A lot of people will walk away from product development, and a lot of people will walk away from Amazon, and a lot of people will walk away from manufacturing after how much of a difficult year it was this year. But the people that make it through it, and the people that are able to see the opportunities and to understand that every single industry in this world on a business level has ups and downs, right? Many hardships in any business you have, right? And if every single time it gets hard, you walk away instead of adjusting and instead of working it out, you're not going to get to where you're trying to go to. So, yeah. All right. Thank you all for watching. If you haven't subscribed, I have no idea how you found this video, but if you haven't, I encourage you to subscribe. Usually, it's not this kind of content. Usually, it's hardcore Amazon product development, shipping, anything to do with making products and selling them online. It's usually that kind of stuff. Sometimes it may be this kind of stuff too. So if you're interested in watching that, hit subscribe. Love you all, and I will see you all in the next video.